I am very impressed. Oh my God.
I got two of them.
That is dedication.
Hired and fired a lot of cool people.
If that is possible, can I build something like that?
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
How you feel about everything that we saw today.
I'm not happy about it.
This is magic.
So welcome to a panel conversation after the Apple WWDC keynote. I'm Chuck Joyner from MacVoices, and we are at the Flip the Script event hosted by MacPaw. It has been an amazing event. It's been an amazing keynote, and now we have an amazing panel to discuss what we saw at the keynote. And just for frame of reference, we are about 2.5 hours after the closing comments on the keynote. So we've had a little time to digest some of it, but not all of it. So I'm going to ask the panel to go around and introduce themselves so you know who you're going to hear from. Oleksandr, let's start with you.
Yeah, hi everyone. Great to be here. And thank you so much for this conversation. So my name is Oleksandr Kosovan. I'm the CEO and founder of MacPaw. We have been doing software for Apple for the last 18 years. And we created one of the most popular utilities on the platform called ClimaMac, Gemini. We're also working on the marketplace called Setapp. And this year we are transforming our marketplace into a so-called AI ecosystem where we want to enable third-party app developers and users to utilize a lot of AI models in their applications and to provide easy access to this new functionality within their apps.
Excellent.
Yeah, so hi everyone. My name is Sergii. Kryvoblotskyi. I'm director of AI and research at MacPaw. I've been with the company for more than a decade already, switching my roles from software engineering to leading the team that currently builds our own AI stack, as Oleksandr has mentioned, and which is currently, fitting the title of the event we are in, flipping the script, because literally my job is to flip the script on what kind of company we became. Because in 2026, we are one of the few software companies that not just wraps someone else's API, but builds our own AI stack with a strong conviction into local first and hybrid approaches. And I wanted to mention that once I've heard, and I believe that innovation is powered up by the collaboration. So we invite everyone to collaborate on that.
Yeah, thank you, Sergii. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Oleksandr. Yeah, my name is Dmytro. I'm the Chief Product Officer of the company MacPaw. My journey starts 8 years ago in the company, and I came at the head of product ClimaMac. And now I'm oversees all of the products in the company with the probably only aim to build the right product for the right audience to fit the product market fit and fit our business fit, of course. And of course, we leverage in AI in the company to make our products stronger, to deliver the most interesting use cases and to cover all the problems our users have with our own solutions based on AI. First of all, and as Sergii mentioned before, we are trying to use our own development to cover that problems and to build our use case inside the products. So my actually initial job and idea and aim to build the best products in the world for Mac users and for iOS users as well. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, this is completely off script and completely a surprise to me because I just found out this very second that Sergii has a Macintosh tattoo on his wrist. I am very impressed.
Actually, two.
Oh my God!
I got two of them.
I only saw the first one. That is dedication. That is dedication.
It is. Yes.
So as I said, we're only a couple hours away from the keynote, and so after a couple hours, what has stuck with you? I mean, because we heard a lot of overall conversations and a couple key components, I think that you could say that were largely the main thrust. But inside those, there was so much. And so Oleksandr, I'll start with you. What has stuck with you now after this much time?
Well, I think it's the same topic that basically the whole world is talking about right now. It's about artificial intelligence. And last year, Apple was not that great with their release of Apple Intelligence. So they were lagging behind. And this year, they are trying to push harder in this direction, integrating this Siri AI within their operating system, within different apps and contexts on the OS.
So we've rebuilt Siri with powerful AI at the core. And today, introducing an entirely new version of Siri, unlocked by Apple Intelligence. We call it Siri AI.
And I think this is the opportunity for them to probably restart what went wrong last year. And I hope it will be much more exciting for customers and for developers as well. And they will do it right this time.
So do you think that it got restarted today and adequately?
Yeah, I think yes, they did it. Yeah.
It certainly looked good. I mean, because there are so many aspects to what we're going to start referring to collectively as Apple Intelligence, from where you would expect it, like in Photos, to places I didn't expect it, like in Safari.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I noticed that during their presentation, they were showing the live demos. Because previously, like previous year, it was not so obvious where it is rendered or it is the real app. And this time it's so obvious that they were showing the existing.
They had to wait till response.
Yes. So it is happening right now, right? Yeah, and from the technological standpoint, every time I watch WWDC, I'm trying to validate our own strategy, our own technologies. And with this year's WW, they got us some notions like technology should be yours, technology should be private. It should know your context, because when you use generalized software, it works like mediocre, because it is for everyone. And once you get software for you, it works this way. So I think that Apple validated our own strategy because we have same vision
Pretty
of
similar,
things.
yeah.
Similar,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, right. And it is kind of pleasant. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, my thought, this is the first WWDC when I really want to use the Siri, because previously I just listened something about the Siri, but okay, it's good, but it's not for me. It's not very useful. It's not something I want to use in my entire life. But this time I really want to start using it because it knows everything about my context. It really can help me in my daily work, daily routine, and probably this is that Siri that they aimed to release many years ago. So.
But still, we should wait for the real release,
Of course.
Because one of the
Just
issues with AI, when you show it from the demo to your stakeholders, everything works. Once you try something else, it breaks.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So we should wait for the release for sure.
Yeah, I personally think that context is what can make your apps really personalized and the experience way better than you had before. And for us as a developer, so we also want to use a contextual memory to learn about the customer, about his routines, about the software it uses, to provide customers with better functionality and better tips, for example, in some apps. And for us, it's quite important because the way Apple realizes it, it's usually very closed, very called walled garden. So they won't let anyone in. You don't know how it works. You don't have access to that. And this is the problem for developers because they have really tiny bit of information that they can act on, and everything else is handled and owned by Apple. And I think this is the major difference that we are trying to build. We want to make this context available to developers, also in a private way for the customers, in a transparent way, but in the same way, so they could act on this context and provide better functionality. So this is how we believe we will be competing with Apple with their solutions, and I hope we will find something way better than they do.
Yeah, in our strategy, we have this like notion that data is a king, and it is really so. So the one who owns the data owns the market. So yeah.
But it's still very questionable whether Apple will share that context with any other apps besides internal Apple apps, because we don't know at the moment. Of course, we want to have that data inside our apps, because we use Apple Intelligence and Apple foundational models in our products as well. But we have no access to the data. Probably this release, it will be interesting for us as well to use the data, not just the model, but the data of the customers to evolve our product to make it better.
So that's going to be a challenge for developers, especially if Apple doesn't give them access. So does that leave you with the option of trying to train your own model, gather up your own context in even on an app-by-app basis? I mean, that doesn't seem terribly efficient. But I personally would find it more appealing, because at least if I buy Sergei's app, then I'm going to trust Sergei with my information. And if I buy Dmytro's app, I'm going to trust him. But if I'm trusting some of these other organizations, and I don't feel quite so good about it. And Apple is so well known for privacy, they seem to be the only one that really is paying that much attention to privacy, outside of maybe the efforts that you're doing.
I think, in fact, they do, but they use it as an competitor advantage, and they are willingly doing that in order to limit everyone else from using their technology. Because, for example, Siri, it has access to all your files, all your photos, all the information, and it's only Siri or Apple has this information. So they built really cool functionality on top of that, but at the same time they will not let anybody else to do similar stuff, because I imagine there could be much better personal assistants like in the previous years, because Siri was not doing a great job. But Apple closed this gate, and they were not letting anyone in. So and that's the problem. Also, they are limiting everyone to the platform. So all of this functionality will be working only on Apple ecosystem. So if you want to integrate some web services, let's say, or you have like Android phone, etc., this is where you will have to switch to Apple. And this is again was one of the points how other companies can differentiate. It doesn't mean that, for example, we as a company, we don't want to sell your data or do something with it. We want to provide better experience by allowing specifically access to some parts of the data to other apps, for example, let's say some calendar app that better personalize your day, for example. So this app may need some information about how do you do morning routines of something. It doesn't specifically go outside of the device, but again, in order to give this better experience, you need to be able to use somehow the data that customers have.
But I can think of another company who has gathered up a lot of information on me and has a voice assistant, and her name starts with A, and I'm not going to verbalize her name because we'll trigger some devices out there. But they are collecting information on me by the fact that I do use that resource. And I don't feel nearly as good about that as I do with Apple. And I think that's going to be one of the challenges you all face, is to gain that same credibility and communicate that, but also communicate with understanding. Not just say the customer, you don't have to worry, we're not selling anything. It's going to go deeper than that as this level of AI progresses.
Yeah, actually, this is one of the reasons we are building our local first or hybrid stack. So we want your data, especially your critical personal data, never leaves your device. So this is not just technological taste, if I may. it is secure by default. So we want to invest some time now into development of this hard to replicate, hard to develop technology, and we want to have it as open as we could, so everyone could check whether we send some data to somewhere, to some servers, whether this stays with you. And I think this is the best way to build the credibility, just to show the tech behind your business, to make sure everyone that your data is safe.
Yeah, and one reason to believe from the customer perspective that we are on the market more than 18 years. And we are working with user data for all of that time inside the Clean Mac. So this program work with the data a lot, erase data, clean the data. So our users fully understand how we do that, how we protect the data of the customers, how we manipulate very safely with that data. So this is a strong reason to believe to MacPaw that our next products, our AI development strategy will be grounded of the user privacy and user data as well.
I agree with you, and I think MacPaw is one of the few companies that has the chance of getting that kind of credibility that you need, because some others have already thrown the credibility out the window. They're known as organizations that take advantage of collecting the data and not always telling the customer, or telling them and then doing it in a horrible way. So I think that, so how are you going to approach your developers, and especially I'm thinking about the Setapp developers, and getting them to respect what goes on there? Are they going to be the ones responsible for protecting the user data of their app, or is it going to funnel through MacPaw and have you all contribute to taking responsibility for it?
Yes, so we see it as a contextual layer that goes with the platform that basically analyzes and have this data when you work with different apps. So it's basically have a contextual memory of all the user interactions. And then, for example, if there is a new app that you are installing that wants to connect to this memory, the user can be presented with with an accept window. For example, are you willing to share this specific piece of information with this app? And if they do, this app can get access to this information. So again, and this information could be more complex than just calendar and dates. It could be vector memory storage, because it's not determined what we should give exactly as a piece of information. It could be vector information, and it gets a bit more complicated, but we will try to find the best solution for that.
Yeah, and as a developers, we guarantee that the storage is safe, because we have to store the data somewhere in the system. So we guarantee the protection, that no one from the outside could access this data for some their reasons, So we pretty much solid and safe, and could guarantee this data safety locally.
And we could use the same Apple iCloud, for example, to get access to this data on other devices, because you probably will want to have access to the same information from your mobile and device. And we could use Apple technology, which is already trusted, to do that, for example.
Yeah, but this is where we see a lot of collaboration, because we are built on top of Apple's platform, and they have pretty good tech on security, so we can just use it to power our own system.
That's an interesting idea, that you wouldn't necessarily have to have access to all the information Apple is gathering on me. You could gather your own information on me and then store it in iCloud and leverage some of the security and the reputation of security that Apple has.
Yeah. Exactly.
So again, we are creating a trust level this way. So it's basically local data storage or contextual memory storage that can sync through the iCloud, which you already do for many other apps.
We dove right into the keynote and the AI question, but it might be interesting to step back for a second and talk a little bit about something that was talked about yesterday at Flip the Script, the evolution of MacPaw and what you're trying to do with the company from an AI perspective. And I'm not sure who wants to address that.
I can start. As Sasha said, we are on the market for more than 2 decades, right? And now we are transforming into being an AI-first company. So we are not only developing our product like consumer-based products to our customers. We want to switch to create AI stacks, AI platforms, and hard-to-replicate technological solutions that would give us and our vendors a platform to develop and enhance their own software. Because with the industry pace, it is going so insanely quick right now, and you have to react to this technological market, right? And what we trying to do is to build the solid ground for the future development and vendors' acceptance to our platform. And this is kind of a switch for us because we are not a product company, like we more than a technological company that creates the technological and the products and the platform of combining everything.
Yeah, thanks, Sergei. Yeah, in terms of product perspective, actually, nothing dramatically changed. We still want to find the right problem and to develop the right solution for that problem. And we evolving AI as the powerful instrument that could help us to resolve the problem of the customer much better than we did before or that someone else can do nowadays. That's why we are going to AI first company to resolve the really painful problems of the customers, but in different way, in new way, and do it in complex way, not just one problem, but set of workflows, set of live workflows for the customers with at least one tool. We call that tool NA, of course. We want to gather everything inside one tool NA, and we want to promote customers and give customers choice, either to use NA as a one unified assistant or go to many applications that could resolve particular customer problems. That is our way now. So once again, the product perspective remains the same. You need to find the right problem and you need to propose the right solution for that problem.
And also, besides product, we also trying to transform the organization into the AI first mentality, and which helps us to even work better with the customers. And a great example of that is working with customer feedbacks or customer support tickets. Yeah, we've been processing that both with human hands, with our support team, and with AI. But the biggest value from that that I see that we can technically hear right now almost every customer because we can process their requests. Either this is like a demand for some feature functionality or the bug report. We can better process that information in high volume, and we can somehow convert that into some product features or change in the direction how we develop in the product. And I think this is what makes AI so powerful, because it helps us to build better software much faster.
Yeah, actually, interesting point that nowadays our support engineers, support members who previously just talked with the customer and writing out the problem and passed that problem to the developers, they now could change the product on the go, understand what the customer needs right now, right here, and change that part of the product and push it to the release.
Yeah, so we've been experimenting with this
we just started
right now.
But this is magic.
So we have...
And the software 3.0 era is already with us. It's already here, right in this room, because back at that days, people had to, download software from somewhere, buy disks, diskettes to install new software to their computers. And right now, what you have to do is just to give it a prompt. You prompt something and you get the solution. And as a company, we should be ready for that, to generate solutions, to find right solutions as Dima said, we have to provide our customers with the right tool, and we should be ready for that as organization as well.
Well, and not only customers, vendors as well.
Absolutely,
because
yes.
I think, again, this is the very interesting times that we are living in. Like wipe coding was not a thing even last year, but this December everything changed with the release of Claude Code, Claude Work, and almost everyone can create an app, iOS, macOS, whatever. And this is great, but in the same time, it's a huge responsibility, because as soon as you put your app in front of some people, they will start using it, and you will have to support it, improve it, and act on it. And I think we are developing like a platform that can help these wipe coding and developers to improve on the customers' feedback, to give them a functionality to collect this feedback, process them, publish the apps, and give them some visibility when they are building some new apps. And I think this is like super exciting, because we'll see a lot of new creations from people who never thought that they could do something like that.
I love this conversation. I'm learning so much. What you just said, though, about somebody taking an app that you develop and you have a purpose and it's your app, and they could completely modify it, and so is that a good thing? How will that be received by developers? Will they see that as a good thing or a bad thing, or is it just part of the world we now live in?
We're actually somewhere in the middle now, because part of developers don't want to work like that, and part of developers understand that this is the future and no chances to work as it was before. And we at the company somewhere in the middle now, and the same with product manager and with support engineers and with marketers. Someone wants to work as it used to be before, like doing just a job, like passing the tickets, support tickets to developers, and just reply to the customers that everything will be done during the next month, and so on and so forth. But someone just go inside the code of the application and change the part of the application that user required before. So I believe all of the company will switch to the new format soon, but today we are like more talking about that and more trying to start that approach in part of the company, but not the whole company changed.
Yeah, and in 2026, you should not expect new results from like old approaches. You have to adapt for the new reality. We already see engineering roles are being changed from like code typing, to more orchestrating the solutions. We ask our developers, how many agents do you orchestrate simultaneously? Because typing is AI's job nowadays. You just ask Claude about something and it does. So as a developer, you still have two responsibilities. It's validating and be responsible for the result, like what the outcome it will give you. So this is how we see the engineering roles change, and the line between product management, for example, and engineering is being like not so like obvious right now. So almost anyone could do pretty same job, and it is awesome because the time to market, time to prototype, time to validating some ideas is so cool now. You just can create new prototype like in hours, not months, and which is awesome.
Yeah, and I think that the role of good engineering right now is to create and enable this workflow when, for example, you are creating and responsible for a good architecture that can be easily modified with vibe coding tools. You are creating the flows that can validate like security, some customer data leaks, or whatever your app does. So you're creating a flows that validates this vibe coded code and creates like a safe experience for the customer. So good engineering right now should be responsible towards managing this agentic workflows.
So something that came up in one of yesterday's discussions, and it feels like it fits in here from a different angle. that you all have gotten pushback from some of your customers about not wanting AI in their applications. And so developers are probably going to have to. They're going to be forced to, or they're going to be out of business. But are customers going to be forced into using AI? And how will you address the folks that will go kicking and screaming toward it and say, I will change apps before I will use AI?
Yeah, actually, we have a lot of applications. Most of them are from the long past ago, like Clean My Mac. And we have tons of customers. It's really millions of customers. So we don't want to use AI just for the sake of AI, as Federighi said before, for the Apple. We are trying to find the real problem before. And only after we find the real problem, we are thinking, do we need to apply AI as an instrument of resolving that problem, or we need to apply another method that also could resolve that problem? And of course, having so big audience, you always will have some adopters of AI and some detractors, or people who don't want to use AI in your applications. That's why in CleanMac we are very accurately using AI. We just add some like tiny features that helps you to understand the context of the file, to understand and educate you what this file is about. And we are using just foundational model of Apple. We don't send any data to the cloud even now. So I would say we have two different kind of products, like conventional one, as CleanMac is, with tons of customers, where we very safely try to apply AI for real problems. And another kind of problems, which are wipe-coded apps that we are making very fast to try to test our new use cases that have AI in the core. So AI, it's a really core of that applications. No chance to use that applications without AI, because AI gives the real value here. We are very we are trying like orchestrate that two different kind of applications and two different kind of audience inside the company.
And I think it's in the very end, it's not about the AI. So it's not about how people perceive AI. It's about what user experience do they get and what problems they are solving. Like, and a good example of this, Apple just presented this new image editing functionality, where you can change perspective, add some borders. This is done by AI. But if you like this functionality, you will use it. If it's done poorly, maybe you will use other app that does better instead of the Apple solutions. But again, you're getting this app or Apple solution because you want to get the specific result. And sometimes this result is not possible without using the modern AI models tools.
So you think that the usability is obviously going to affect it, but the desire to achieve the result is going to override some of the considerations.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not possible to get some result without extensive use of AI tools.
Yeah, it's once again like a right tool for the right job, right? Yes. If you don't need it, you won't use it. Yeah.
The other thing that came up yesterday that I put in my notes right away is there was a healthy mini debate about on-device versus off-device. Now, we've talked a little bit about that here already, but you brought up something I hadn't considered, that you could send it some of this information to the cloud. It would just be to iCloud and a very secure location, or to your secure location, whatever. But I guess I just didn't expect that kind of the strength of opinion I saw yesterday on, it has to be on device, or, it's okay to send it to the cloud. And not just information, but also, I guess, the processing as well. Any strong feelings about that, or anything you're seeing as trends in those areas from your developers?
Yeah, I would say that the trend goes hybrid nowadays. So once again, you should pick the right tool for the right job. You don't need send your data to the cloud if you need some basic job to be done, right? Like some recipe. So you don't need to send your data to data centers somewhere to Arizona just to get this simple answer. Because nowadays in 2026 we all have the data centers right in our pockets. It's phones, computers, watches. Yeah. So local models are capable of perform a lot of tasks, but as a developer, you have to route. You have to validate what task could be done with local model and what could not, because the capabilities are still not the same. So our job is to provide the right model for the right task, and we want to route the task to the right, large language model. I think that cloud models are still the best way to prototype. If your product requirements change very fast, you have to validate hypotheses, you have to deliver fast, you want to experiment, you still have to go with a cloud models. Because when you change something with a cloud, you just change the prompt and you're good to go. But if you want to change your local stack, you have to retrain something. You have to rebuild your pipeline. You have to fine tune once again. And the price of the experimentations goes all the way up, to the stars. So it's better start from cloud models to experiment. And once you're solid with your requirements, you know your customer, you know your product very well, you should start train your local stack to cut costs, to reduce latency, to provide better user experience in the first place.
For me, I think it's all about the resources that you have, both compute, memory, and even the battery. So right now, you can do a lot of things already on the Mac. They are amazing hardware on iPhone as well, but it all depends on the complexity of the task, and just not every model can be run on your device to achieve that. And maybe in the future, so I really believe in this future when local models will be the prime models that most of the people will use for everyday jobs. But right now we are not there yet, so they are getting better and better, and I hope with the new algorithms, especially the memory efficiency or the training algorithms that can train a smaller model that is maybe knows less but more capable in tool calling, for example, or to identify what it has to get additionally. So maybe this model will appear and it will be very capable to be run on a regular iPhone, for example.
The one disappointing piece, I think, in the keynote this morning was that this is, at the moment, is going to be a U.S.-based only. And I feel like we have to bring that up because it especially affects you all since you're located offshore. What does that do to your plans, your initiatives? And again, it's one of those things that is constantly evolving. So who knows? By the time that people hear this, it might have been solved. But given that it probably won't be, where do you all go with that?
Yeah, actually a big question. What exactly will be available in US only? What exactly will not be available in EU and Europe as well? We don't know at the moment. We actually use foundational models in our products as well. And at the moment, I really don't know whether we continue to use foundational models because we sell our products and we distribute our products all over the world. And such limitations are not good for us. So the first take we have to test. We have to understand the real state and maybe make some changes with our partnership with Apple. Maybe for some countries we have to change foundational models to something else, like our local models or even cloud models, which I don't want to do because some use cases in our application, as Sergii said before, right tools for the right task. Local models much better tool for our tasks inside some applications. In terms of blocking Europe, for us it's a great opportunity actually because we don't want to block anyone in the world because we are like a worldwide company and spread our solutions for the whole world. So I see only a good sign for us here.
From the developer's perspective, so you have global audience, and you have to limit some functionality that may be really well done only for the US market, and other world is waiting while Apple will figure out this regulatory issues. So you either have to build using some other solutions from day one, or you are like blocking half of your customer base, because Europe is quite a large market.
Yeah, and it should be said that this is not Apple's choice. I mean, unless you please disagree with me, but I think they have no desire to limit the availability of these products. They want everyone to use them. It's some of the legislative issues that are blocking things and that still need to be resolved or worked out. And I mean, we're seeing that even inside the U.S., that there are certain states that are trying to implement certain things, and that can take us into another part of the discussion. But it has to be frustrating for them, for you, to see all these amazing things and then say, yeah, but not here.
For you.
Yeah.
I think these regulations in general kills the innovation, and maybe it's like an unofficial tax of big tech companies, because this is the way Europe can make money, unfortunately. So I'm not happy about it, but this is the way it is, and unfortunately we at least at the moment have no impact on that.
And sometimes this is the matter of language itself, because it is large language models in the first place, and English is one of the most used language all over the world. But for the specific language, for example, Chinese or Ukrainian, you have to train your models as well. So I don't know about Apple, but maybe it is an issue here.
That's a really interesting point. Now, the way I took what they said was that it's not going to be available for users in Europe. I didn't hear the language issue, but that's a very fair point.
They actually mentioned that they are started from English, but afterwards expand to other languages. But for Europe, every language will be unavailable.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the way I heard it. So, yeah, it's tough. The one big part of the keynote we haven't talked about, I will put under the broad category of parental responsibility and parental control. And I don't know how many of your apps address that kind of thing, and how you feel about everything that we saw today. It felt like some of that also may be in response to some of the legislative issues that we're seeing around. But and certainly there was nothing in there I thought that would be harmful or not beneficial. And we all know kids are going to be able to get around about 3/4 of that in the first 10 minutes. But it certainly looks like there are efforts being made. Does that really factor into what MacPaw does or some of your developers?
You mean the kids protection, right? Not directly, probably, but I welcome that. As a father, I have two kids, and I think the internet nowadays is a very dangerous place. I don't give my kids a lot of access to the internet because there are so many things that you want to avoid, and I think this is like a very great functionality that they released. Like maybe not everyone noticed that, but I think I will be using that a lot, and I hope it will make at least first steps easier for my kids, like how to get to know the internet, start to communicate with some friends on the internet safely. So I would have control over it, and maybe again discuss in a gentle way all the risks and threats of the internet.
Yeah, actually, I noticed today that for me, European-based father of two boys, this information was the most important and the most interesting, because all of that stuff regarding Siri and Apple Intelligence will be unavailable for me in Europe, unfortunately. But this stuff is very useful for me, because I always made that manually with my kids. I always had to protect their life online manually. And now Apple will help me to do that much better than ever before.
Yeah, Apple always tells that they are all about the privacy, and today they shown it. Actually, they shown it to the world.
It feels like they've had to step up their game a bit, because of all the issues that we see out there. It seems like, as soon as they build in certain protections early, the kids got more sophisticated, the bad guys got more sophisticated,
Right.
so you have to continue. And I know that there are going to be some younger members of the audience that look and say, well, I don't need this, or I don't want this. And they don't appreciate just how dangerous a place it is out there.
Right.
And they don't have a choice right now because parents control their devices. But yeah.
So I'll bring up the large language models, Claude, Perplexity, ChatGPT. How do you feel like what they offer right now compares, contrasts, competes with what we saw in Apple Intelligence? And again, recognizing that we saw demos and that we're still several months out from actually getting some of this in our hands. Do you feel like it takes it from a different angle, or exploration of some of the other large language models worthwhile?
Well, they made it available in Xcode, for example, so we can use multiple AI providers there for coding. But I think if they would be doing this deal with Siri AI a bit later, they would probably go with Anthropic models. Like I personally, I'm a huge fan of their models, well, what capabilities they give, even though the Codex and Gemini is catching up, but the Anthropic, it was a game changer for the last 5, 6 months. It's amazing what you can do with them.
Yeah, companies like Anthropic or OpenAI, they still create the trends for everyone. Like we talk to our customers, and they just go do it like Anthropic. We want same things with your flavor. But what I want to emphasize here is that this is the right point when UX matters. Because large language models will be getting more and more capable, but at some level they will hit same level of capabilities, and this is exactly when UX goes first. The one who provides the customers with the fast, efficient solution, very very clear solution. Those
easy to use, actually. I mean, easy to use solution, because sometimes it's
Absolutely.
very difficult to use some language models.
Yeah, and now we see a great example of Claude Code, so you can do a lot of stuff there. But maybe in the future there will be similar solutions for, let's say, architecture or design. No, there are some solutions from Claude Design, but there will be specified tools that utilize these models for each area of possible scenarios where they work, and I think they could help people to do a lot of.
And I think Apple has kind of advantage here because they own the operating system, right? They can integrate as deep as they want. This is what Anthropic or OpenAI will not get until they develop their own operating system or computer. So Apple here, they are in a good position. So they could bring the right UX much better. And Apple is good at design, right? So I expect some great UX from them.
It felt like some of what we call vibe coding is sort of sneakily hidden inside Apple Intelligence. The idea that I can I forget how they said, describe what I want in the way of a Safari extension. Or some of the other things. My right away, it's like, okay, that's interesting. That feels like another step to what we were talking about earlier, customizing someone else's app to the way you want it. And so that capability is there. It may not be exactly for coding's sake, but you're gonna have that starting point of, in this case, Safari, that, okay, I know I want this new feature, and I'm not going to wait for a developer to give it to me. I'm just going to do it myself.
They try to wrap very hard tech into great cover to not bother users with this models, coding, Python, whatsoever, as I just give the value.
Yeah, actually, the same with shortcuts, as far as I remember. You just need to say what you want, and you get the shortcut. But actually, we'll see how it works in real.
What could go wrong? What could go wrong? The one other thing I wanted to ask you about, we saw Google's name up on the screen, and no other large language models were talked about for a good reason. Is that a good partnership? Is that a partnership that was expected? Will we see more of this kind of partnership from Apple?
Yeah, and in my opinion, I think that in 2026 there is no team or company who are capable of creating everything on their own, because the industry pace is so fast that you'd rather partner with someone who owns the technology to to combine your effort into delivering something great. And this partnership proves the point that you should bring and have your solid partnerships to move on. And I really believe that only with great partners you could advance nowadays. You can do everything on your own. So I think Apple tried previous year to create everything on their own. They invested a lot into data science, AI. They hired hired and fired a lot of cool people. But I think they, at some point, they gave up and they understand that this is the only way.
But still, I believe they tried to do their own model. Beside of that partnership, maybe not this year, of course, obviously not this year, maybe next, maybe in 1 year, they will uncover their own model, because it's kind of, for me, it's understandable that partnership is okay, but you're Apple, you're one of the biggest company in the world. You have to maintain and build own model.
And you're absolutely correct. We do a lot of research at MacPaw. We have our research.macpaw.com website where we publish our papers and work. And with our job, we research what other companies do. And Apple still invests a lot into data science. They do benchmarking. They try to fine-tune models, optimize models for on-device execution. Their most recent paper on ICML conference that we are visiting too is all about PKV caching techniques to compress the models and to get efficient answers in the constrained environment, which is pretty much same as we do at MacPaw. So I think it is kind of parallel processes that they wanted to ship the functionality and go on to invest and research technologicals on their own. So at some point, I expect they deliver new version of Apple Foundation models whatsoever.
Based on Apple.
Based on Apple, yeah.
But talking about Google, I think they are like a real working horse of the internet. So they may not be that vocal as Anthropic or ChatGPT, but their models are pretty good, and they're powering a lot of backend infrastructure of a lot of companies, including some of our solutions from our companies. And their models are great. So I think it's a good choice and should perform really well. And besides Google, basically they were the creators of this technology, this transformer that basically powered right now all the model trainings and the approach that everyone is now using to do the AI models. So they have some credit to that. Yeah.
Well, and they already have a relationship with Apple because of the search relationship with iOS. So it felt like that was pretty good. And right now it feels like...
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
This was old Siri.
Yeah, this is old Siri. Yes. It completely blew my thought. Let's take that back. No, it felt like that was a very natural relationship to do, and the others seem to be. They all seem to be courting controversy at any given moment. that they're good, they're bad. Well, we're not sure about they're good, or this part's good, but the other part's not so good. And so Google is their reputation, depending on how you view them, but it's pretty consistent. And so that made it feel like maybe a little better choice than OpenAI, because OpenAI might have felt desperate. Google felt like maybe not. It's not the best at the moment, but it's very, very competent.
Mm-hmm. And I see some parallel here. As in Safari, you could, or you maybe still can, choose the search engine, right? It's Google by default, but maybe you could switch to some other engine. Maybe at some point we will have same things with LLMs. So, for example, Apple is default LLM engine, but you could switch to some other provider, like on all the platform, like for Google and for someone.
Maybe Apple want to avoid that, and this is the reason they don't have service in Europe, because in Europe you can't provide just one service. You have to like.
It would be really great, because this competition creates innovation, and also like I think they mentioned that you can bring your own models, the foundational AI.
I think they opened this Core AI API to for the developers to use custom third-party solutions.
Yeah, so we still have to check out the new APIs that they will be providing, how it will work. But let's hope so.
It's one of the fun parts about doing a session right after the keynote, but also one of the frustrations. We have a lot of questions and there are probably some answers out there on the internet, a few right now. We're going to see more over the next few weeks. But yeah, so maybe we should do this again in a few weeks, and maybe
I think not even every Apple engineer know how it works now. So they still have to learn as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. But our opinions may change in a few weeks.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Maybe.
So, gentlemen, thank you. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know that you've got an audience waiting for you for additional sessions. Bottom line, where should folks learn, developers and customers, go to learn more about everything that MacPaw offers?
Yeah, so thank you so much for this great opportunity. It has been a pleasure for us. We are MacPaw, macpaw.com, so customers can visit our website, or setapp.com or na.ai. This is our major products that we are working, and we are open for partnerships for developers and new vibe-coded developers that are just thinking to create the app, and they have some ideas that they want to realize. I think this is amazing opportunity for a lot of people right now. Thank you.
And if someone is really inside the Apple ecosystem, we're also present in App Store. Almost all our applications are on the App Store, so you can just download and use it wherever you want.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't mind saying that I am a MacPaw software user. They have been such an amazing member of the community over the years. They're one of the few companies that I feel like I can trust the way that we all trust Apple.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
I'd like to introduce Grant Belaire, the Chief Marketing Officer for MacPaw. Grant, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
So we've just finished watching the keynote. We've just had the post-keynote panel. I'm curious about your impressions from a marketing perspective of what you saw and how Apple presented what we saw.
Yeah, every time Apple does one of these, and as you mentioned in the meetings, they've gone on for years. There's always something exciting and interesting to the consumer. So I've been an Apple consumer for a very long period of time, and the things that I really loved, the visual intelligence layer that they layered in to the product, to the OS, and it's across platforms. I think to me, that speaks to me as a consumer. And as a marketer, the question that I would have is how can we leverage that to be contextually relevant to the customer, expose what we have to offer, solve a problem that they have, and if it solves for us, can solve for our developers in the ecosystem. It's an opportunity. I think the other part then is at that altitude and in that level of presentation, it looks great. A lot of the comments people said, we have to get into the details and figure out exactly how it works. But there is opportunity. And when there's opportunity, you can do a lot as a marketer to get in the consumer at the right moment in time.
you bring up what you liked, and it's been interesting to watch the WWDC keynotes develop from, sorry for the pun, develop from a developer-focused thing to something that has a bit more of a general focus, and then there's a developer component to the overall presentation. And there are times I hope it doesn't get lost on the developers, that what they're really, I think what they're trying to do is show what can be done with their devices. So that leads into where MacPaw comes in. You know, you all are helping developers create apps for the Apple platforms. What do you think about how Apple is approaching this, and what did you hear that is of interest to developers?
That's a great question. They have to be able to show what is possible. And if they can show what is possible with the products who are either under the tent to begin with as they prepare that presentation, it's a catalyst and it's a conversation starter to show with whatever is exposed and whatever can be leveraged, you can build a product that consumer will use. So again, for us, what are the things that we can build within our core suite? What are the things that Setapp enables for developers to build on our platform and get discovered on the Mac OS? It has to start with creativity. If that is possible, can I build something like that falls within my suite and the products that I build? And then how do I get it distributed? So I think it added a lot of positivity for the Setapp message and the things that we can bring to developers. And then it just shows if they can build that, what can you build? And how do you get it in front of those users?
Okay, so what I think I just heard is that there's a certain amount of leveraging of what Apple's giving, but there's a certain amount of the opportunity to maybe do it a little bit differently, the developer's way, for the app that they're trying to create.
Yeah, no, good push, and thanks for the clarification. If you have an idea, can you build it? Will it fit within the confines and the things that Apple has provided inside of whatever the new OS upgrade is going to be? And then even better, to the sweet spot and the things that we are great at. Do you need tools to build that app? And do you need a way to have that app be discovered? So again, what opportunity exists? Can you build that? Can MacPaw and Setapp help you ship it and then get it discovered?
You've referenced now several times what MacPaw can deliver, what they can give to the developer, which is something that I'm not sure, as more, if I put my consumer hat on, I view it from the Setapp perspective of a customer, like I get all these cool apps and I get them affordably, and I have the opportunity to explore some of these apps as opposed to purchasing them or looking at a hobbled demo. And so, you know, I think it's interesting to hear that you talk about what you can bring to the developer who's going to put that app on Setapp or in the MacPaw store, and then I get to enjoy it. So where do you go with that? I mean, how do you convince people, developers, to come to you and take advantage of what you offer?
Yeah, I think we hit a lot of those points yesterday and some of the panel discussions, which were, is there anything you need from an insight perspective, from a developer's perspective, access to tools to build the app that you want? As an indie developer and maybe an army of one, that's going to be daunting. But if there's something off the shelf that you can use to your advantage, and then, you know, we have different examples of ads that we would run where this is growth outside of Setapp. It's hard. If you're an army of one and trying to promote your app, you can only do so much. But if you can tap into an ecosystem, that is where it's not easy, but it's a lot easier than trying to do it on your own. And that's where you can get discovery up and to the right. So again, I thought one of the things in the keynote today was when they talked about shortcuts and you can automate certain tasks. Just imagine, and again, we have to go under the covers and we have to read all the documentation. But is there a way through the APIs that we have, the APIs that they are creating, that your app now becomes a skill that can work inside of a shortcut? Wouldn't that be amazing? And do you really need to go through a business development process and go through all these different things to take advantage of that? Or could you take advantage of that through Setapp? I think that's a pretty compelling value prop. And for the customer, the end customer, it's just another reason to believe in the ecosystem that Apple is creating, that we play a pretty compelling role in.
That's a fascinating answer, and I hadn't not even considered that part of it. And again, we're only a couple hours post keynote, so there's a lot of processing that needs to be done here. But the idea that you could, as opposed to fighting against or trying to squeeze yourself into what Apple's giving you, that you could use Apple's not even the APIs, but just the capabilities to leverage something then that you create and make it even better.
Well, that's the kind of the same premise of the App Store in general, right? When the iPhone launched, they could build all the apps themselves, or they could just motivate people to live in the App Store, take advantage of the hardware and the software, and create something that a consumer would like. I think there's holding on to that same vision. It's just now coming in a different container.
So what is the biggest challenge you see for MacPaw from a marketing perspective going forward with everything we've seen here? And again, recognizing that we have a lot of questions that need to be answered.
I think great question. Certainly something any CMO would be sitting up at night and saying, wow, what keeps you awake? So again, less than a month in, but I still believe this is the biggest challenge that we have is, in my words, the moment of truth. I can tell you what the product is. I can tell you what it does, but until you actually have a use case that is in the moment that makes you say, this is what I need, it's showing up at the right time. So can we build awareness of what it is that we have to offer? Clean My Mac has been around for a very long period of time. And anytime I ever bring it up, people go, I know that, I use that. And it provides a lot of value. How do you extend beyond that? You now have a foot in the door. People know what you stand for, and it's a high quality product. They use it and they love it. How do you move them on to the next that you have to offer? And that's where the ecosystem comes into play. Clean My Mac is a part of that. NA as an AI agent that can then leverage every app in Setapp, apps outside of Setapp, and Clean My Mac. That's a rich story to tell, and you can't do it in 15 seconds in a video ad, and you sure can't do it in a search ad. But we have to tell the story. We have to be consistent with the story, and then show up at moments of truth when the consumer has a need for what we have to offer, and then nail it. And then make sure we nail it on the next engagement, and that they can't love it so much they just have to tell all of their friends and can't wait to post about it. That's going to be the fun part.
Okay, in the spirit of flip the script, I want you to ask me a question. No, but I want to tell you what the question is, and then I want you to ask it.
All right.
I want you to ask me what I think MacPaw's biggest assets are.
Chuck, I would love to hear your perspective on what MacPaw's biggest assets are.
The credibility, the fact that they have been such a responsible part of the community for so long. They have never let anyone down, as far as I know, from the perspective of compromising their visions or the quality of their product, the relationship they have with their customers. The fact that you just said it, you say Clean My Mac and people say, yeah, I have that, I use that, or I have used it, or I know about MacPaw. And when they launched Setapp, I admit I was a bit of a skeptic because I just couldn't see it. And they have followed through with not just their responsibility to the customers, but also to the developers as well. And they just have this amazing credibility in the community. And I think that is one of the biggest assets that I don't want MacPaw to overlook, and I don't want the customers and the consumers to overlook. Because I really do, as corny as it sounds, it's a company that I trust and appreciate just about more than any other, with the possible exception of Apple.
Yeah. Not paying him to say that either.
No,
that is dynamite feedback, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, that is from the heart, because I really do believe it.
I love that. Thank you. And that's sacred. And that's the bar you got to keep up every single day with everything you ship and with every engagement. So I really appreciate that answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.